I am repeatedly asked, what is the charm of the Arctic region? Why is it that a man who once goes north is anxious to go again?
I'm Admiral Fritz Rogie, Commander of the Pacific Submarine Force. The U.S. Navy and the U.S. Submarine Force have a long history of Arctic operations and experience up in this part of the world.
March 14, 2016. 2 Los Angeles-class submarines arrived at U.S. Navy Ice Camp Sargo, a temporary station on top of a floating island of ice in the northernmost area of the world, the Arctic Ocean.
This year, with ICEX 16, is no different. We have USS Hampton and USS Hartford participating here, giving those 2 submarine crews Arctic operating experience.
USS Hampton and USS Hartford will conduct a North Pole surfacing, multiple Arctic transits, scientific data collection, and other training evolutions as part of ICE Exercise 2016. ICEX is a 5-week exercise designed to assess the operational readiness of the submarine force while also continuing to advance scientific research in the Arctic region.
First and foremost, of course, is giving those 2 submarine crews the opportunity to develop Arctic operating experience, which is going to become increasingly valuable as there is increased competition in the Arctic.
The exercise involves 2 submarines, multiple nations, and more than 200 participants and 140 crewmen from Submarine Forces Atlantic, Sublant.
We have many academic and research organizations that are joining us here for these few weeks of ice camp in order to better understand changing conditions here in the Arctic environment.
Naval Postgraduate School research professor Timothy Stanton.
We're getting a jump start on this new initiative called SODA, which is Office of Naval Research sponsored, and deploying the prototype system to make that deeper measurement concurrently with this shallow measurement.
Research assistant professor Doug Horner.
Our objective there is to be able to map under the ice. So we've got a sonar that's looking, rather than downward like we usually do, it's looking upward. It's called a microbathymetry sensor.
And faculty associate John Joseph have teamed up with members of Submarine Forces Atlantic.
Our goal up there was to try to characterize the acoustic conditions. The Arctic environment is changing. We wanted to go out there and take measurements of the ocean.
The NPS delegation will contribute to the ICEX effort by conducting acoustic, Arctic ice melting, and autonomous underwater vehicle research at the $6.3 million Camp Sargo, built on the Arctic sea ice 200 miles north of Dead Horse, Alaska.
The first day was at minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill factor of like minus 45.
This current ICEX 2016 is a very big operation, and with a hugely more complex number of participants and players than the earlier ones.
And the reason why we're going is we're going to be able to deploy our autonomous vehicles, and there's a lot of challenges that are inherent in minus 20 degrees to be able to see if we can do science and engineering in the future.
It was clear conditions for us. In the evenings, as we were working on some of the equipment, we got a chance to step out and see the aurora at night. Fantastic. Just very different environment, and you just feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, because that's where we really were, out in the middle of nowhere.